Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're all doing well and keeping safe on this Saturday. Going to be talking a bit more about Kai Havertz officially becoming a Chelsea player. His first interview, also credit to Frank Lampard, Marina Granovskaia, also your tweets about the transfer that you sent in for today's video. But before we get into any of that, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also hit that like button if you're enjoying the content because it helps out the channel as well. Of course, celebrating that transfer. Of course, Chelsea fans still reveling in the news that Kai Havertz is a Chelsea player. No more close to signing Kai Havertz. He is now a Blue officially. Of course, we got that announcement video last night. I thought the announcement video was pretty good, to be fair. I like the fact it was very unique for Kai Havertz. It wasn't just sort of that template they'd done for Thiago Silva and Ben Chilwell, which I thought were good videos, good announcement videos compared to previous announcement video for players. But I felt because of the magnitude and anticipation for Kai Havertz, I thought they really nailed it, especially with the tweets. Eunice Talks Football, a mate of mine, was featuring in that video with one of his tweets about Kai Havertz. Also, Antonio Rudiger, Agent Rudy, featuring looking down at his phone screen and asking Havertz to be announced. I thought that was a cool touch as well for Chelsea to add on top of that. But then a couple of hours later, we got Kai Havertz's official first interview as a Chelsea player. I mean, his English is going to be better than my German will ever be, but I found some of his quotes really interesting once again. And mainly for me, the one I'm going to pull out is Frank Lampard's influence on his transfer. So here's what he had to say. Of course, Lampard had a big impact on my decision because I loved him as a player and watched him very often. I think I can learn from him as a manager. I can't wait to play with him and learn from him. Of course, there's going to be that natural comparison, a goal-scoring midfielder, and of course, Frank Lampard. We got that with Mason Mount last season. Very different players, you know, different skill sets and different trajectories in their career. But I think, once again, Lampard having direct involvement in convincing a player to join Chelsea Football Club, selling him the vision of this season and moving forward even beyond that, hopefully, if Frank Lampard is a success at Chelsea, because I'd love to be a fly on the wall in those conversations. What is Frank Lampard telling the likes of Werner, Ziyech, Chilwell and Havertz about his vision? Not only for them personally as a player, how they're going to fit into Chelsea's system, but just overall, because he's clearly got something about him, a knack for convincing these players. And I think another thing I mentioned, I believe it was when Timo Werner joined, you got to remember the age of these players now. You know, I'm 22. So, you know, these players grew up watching Frank Lampard, idolizing Frank Lampard. A player like Kai Havertz, as he mentioned himself, watching Frank Lampard as a youngster score so many goals. And I think that's a big thing for Lampard that he has over these young players is they'll look up to him as an idol and being able to play under him as a coach. I think that's a big contributing factor as well. And I think Frank Lampard, I mentioned this when Ben Chilwell signed, I think him having that connection to players and understanding and not being that detached from the modern game, understanding the mindset of a player and what they want, what they desire when they join a club. It's not just about, I think, singly money. I mean, Tifo Football did a brilliant video about this, the contributing factors to a player joining your club, which I suggest you go and watch, because there are many factors. It's not just about the finances involved in a transfer. It's about location. It's about the style of play, the coach, the way a club makes a player feel if they're trying to sign them. And it looks like with all these players, Chelsea are doing the right things. And Frank Lampard being directly involved in these transfers, I think is massive for the long-term future of the club. Then moving on, just want to get some of your reactions from this transfer and of this transfer on Twitter. You replied to a tweet I posted last night. Jonah Zeka, friend of the channel, OG of Chelsea YouTube here, saying, buzzing mate, really good signing, can give us so much, especially when teams sit back against us, can create something out of nothing, something which we lack at times. I absolutely agree. I made this point in my video last night about the transfer. Low blocks overall for me is a massive conundrum for Frank Lampard to solve. If he solves it, Chelsea, if they can put away some of the teams they lost to last season at home, those really frustrating results at home during especially the winter time, if Chelsea can turn those defeats into wins, we're going to jump up the table. We really are. And that's if he can solve that, not only with Kai Havertz, because I think it's that lack of invention sometimes that Chelsea did lack during the winter months, where our play got really stale and sort of lethargic, almost very passive in play. I don't want to see that from Chelsea anymore. I want to see more aggressive play. And I think the variety of options in attack that Lampard has, I think is going to make it very difficult for teams to stop Chelsea. I think if you have Ziyech, Werner, Pulisic, Havertz, Mason Mount, Reece James and Ben Chilwell maybe coming in from the flanks as well, helping out in attack in some of those games where Chelsea are going to dominate a lot of the ball, it's going to be difficult, especially in those real attacking options, to stop all of them at once. You know, you're sort of hoping that Timo Werner has an off day. You're hoping that, you know, that's not even mentioning Olivier Giroud and Tammy Abraham, the influence they could have this season, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Mateo Kovacic from midfield as well. I think that's the thing for me that I really want to see this season. And I do agree, Kai Havertz, that natural goal scoring ability a second striker type of mould to be able to make runs into the box, maybe when Timo Werner's having an off day or is being mocked at the game. That anticipation for goals, I think, is massive from Chelsea's midfield, and hopefully that's what Kai Havertz will add to our game. James here said, the signing shows that we're not here to fight for top 4 anymore. We're going for the title challenge, and it's great to see we're not settling for mediocrity. Completely agree. Callum says, honestly, can't wait. The dynamism, fluidity, and versatility that it will further add to our attack is scary to think about. Interchanging with Ziyech on the right and in the middle, and possibly roaming around up top. Couldn't be more excited for the season. Come on, you Blues. And lastly, Joseph here says, one of the reasons his talent is unique is because of his late growth spurt. He couldn't rely on his height when he was a kid, so he had to learn excellent ball control and dribbling. Now he has that double threat. Completely agree with this. I think that the physicality of the Premier League is always something that's concerning for attacking players, younger players coming into the league, and how they're going to adapt to that. I think maybe his height could really help Kai Havertz to adapt to the Premier League when he's confronted with the physical challenge, which will come this season. Teams will try and sort of kick him. I've said this about Ziyech before. They'll try and do that to players, and it's about the character of those players to overcome that, and hopefully with his height he can do that for Chelsea. And lastly, I just want to give credit to Marina Granovskaia, who I think deserves so much credit this summer. I think this is really relevant because yesterday the Belgian journalist Christophe Terrier tweeted about Eden Hazard, the transfer fee that Chelsea are still getting from Real Madrid from that transfer, as you can see in this tweet here, and the amount of money Chelsea are receiving, over 100 million euros. Chelsea still receiving that money up to 2021. And Marina's work combined with the Morata fee, I mean, that Morata deal for me is her best work. I do think it is her best work. I mean, some people will claim that the fee for Havertz being so low initially and him not being the most expensive player in our history is probably her best deal. We're going to have to wait and see how good Havertz does for Chelsea, because that could turn out to be her best piece of work. But selling Morata, recouping that fee, to me is absolutely ridiculous. A player who failed at Chelsea pretty much. I think it just shows you how important she is. And I got frustrated with the criticism of her in the past by some fans, because I think it was always a perception problem with Marina, because people for some reason assume she was involved in scouting. That's never been her role. She is the chief negotiator, the deal maker, the Iron Lady, as she's being referred to in Germany, because of her tough negotiating on Kai Havertz, which has worked out brilliantly for Chelsea. But selling has been such an important part of this summer. Selling the likes of Eden Hazard, getting substantial money for a player of that quality at his age, and in reinvesting that on signing the likes of Ziyech, and especially, I think, more predominantly, that people pointed out, two of the best young German players in Kai Havertz and Timo Werner. Incredible work, it really is. It's going to be difficult for her, I think, a bit more this summer, selling players the likes of Bakayoko, Zappacosta, Drinkwater, maybe Kepa in the future, who might be staying for this season, but if his form does not improve, it's going to be difficult. But still, I think it just shows you how much of a vital cog she is and how much brilliant work she does consistently to get the best deal for Chelsea. And I think when you criticise her in the future, I think you've got to understand what her role actually is. And I think selling and signing players is so important for Chelsea, and she is the perfect person to be doing that at the moment. So I really hope fans now understand, appreciate her role, how vital she is for Chelsea's transfer policy, because she's doing amazing work at the moment. And I think this summer is a testament to her brilliant work over a number of years as well to set up this amazing transfer window. But that is it for this edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Thank you for taking the time to watch it. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonOfChelsea. Have a great day, and I'll see you again.